Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Are you done settling for average? Are you done telling yourself the same story year after year about why your life, your business, your relationships, your health aren't where they could be? If that answer is yes, then lean in. Because what I'm about to share with you is not theory, it's not fluff. It's the one habit that if you implement it tonight will change the direction of your life forever. Now listen to me. Every breakthrough in life, every transformation comes down to a decision. But the problem is most people don't make decisions. They hesitate, they hope. Hope is not a strategy. Decision backed by action, that's power, that's momentum, that's life altering. So what's the habit? It's this. Decide every single day, before the world tells you who you are, before your phone lights up, before the stress creeps in, decide who the hell you're going to be. That's it. Sounds simple, but don't confuse simple with easy. This is what I call prime your identity. Every morning, before you check your messages, before you drink your coffee, before you give energy to anything or anyone else, you decide, I am focused, I am relentless, I am a leader, I am love. I am the kind of person who does not quit. You don't wait to feel ready. You don't wait for motivation. You command it. You generate the emotion, the intensity, the clarity that most people spend their whole lives searching for. And you do it by creating it. Now let me be crystal clear. This isn't about affirmations whispered in the mirror. This isn't cute. This is immersion. This is conditioning your nervous system every single day until your identity becomes so locked in that the world bends around your energy. You start walking different, talking different, attracting different, because you are different. See, the truth is, the strongest force in the human personality is the need to remain consistent with how we define ourselves. You think you're lazy? You'll act lazy. You think you're not enough? You'll self-sabotage. You think you're a warrior? Guess what? You'll fight through anything. And if you do this, if you commit to priming your identity every single day, you'll notice something strange. People will say, what changed about you? They'll see your energy shift, your certainty rise, your resolves explode, and you'll smile because you'll know the secret. The shift didn't start out there, it started in here. So tonight, before you go to bed, ask yourself, who do I want to be tomorrow? Not what do I want to do, who do I want to be? Then tomorrow morning, before the sun is even fully up, you step into that identity. You say it, you feel it, you move like it's already yours. That is the one habit that will change your life overnight. Not someday, not next week, now. So decide, step in, and never look back. Let's go. Your identity is the foundation of everything you do in life. It's the invisible script that drives every decision, every habit, every result you get. Most people think their actions create their identity, but it's actually the opposite. Your identity comes first, your beliefs about who you are, and your actions follow. If you want to change your life, you don't start with goals, you start with who you believe you are. That's why this one idea, identity first, action second, is the game changer. Think about this. A person who identifies as a runner doesn't have to convince themselves to go for a run. They just do it. Why? Because it's part of who they are. A leader doesn't need to hype themselves up to take initiative. They lead because it's aligned with their self-presume. But someone who sees themselves as lazy, inconsistent, or unworthy, they will unconsciously act in ways that confirm that identity, even if they say they want change. That's why so many people struggle with motivation and consistency. It's not because they lack discipline, it's because their internal identity hasn't caught up to the external change they're trying to make. Your brain is wired to protect the story you tell yourself about who you are. If you believe you're the kind of person who always messes up, your brain will find ways to confirm that belief. If you think you're not good at relationships, you'll sabotage them. If you believe you're bad with money, you'll make decisions that keep you broke. But the moment you flip the script, when you decide that you are disciplined, that you are worthy, that you are powerful, everything changes. Your behavior rises to meet your new identity. Not perfectly, not immediately, but inevitably. This is not about pretending. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about becoming intentional with how you define yourself. Because whether you're conscious of it or not, you already have an identity. You already wake up every day and step into a version of yourself. And that version is either aligned with the future you want or pulling you away from it. The key is to take control of it. You don't wait to become confident to call yourself confident. You claim it. You don't wait to be successful to identify as successful. You align your behavior with the version of you that already is. Athletes do this, performers do this, high-level entrepreneurs do this. Before they ever win the race, close the deal, or step on stage, they've already run it in their mind as the person who wins. Not just hoping, knowing. That knowledge doesn't come from external validation, it comes from identity. You can try all the productivity hacks, all the time management tricks, all the vision boards and motivational quotes, but if your identity stays stuck in your old patterns, none of it will stick. It's like putting rocket fuel into a car with no wheels. The power is there, but there's no structure to carry it forward. You want to know why people change for a few weeks and then fall back into old habits? It's because they never changed who they believe they are. They were trying to do different without becoming different. Action without identity alignment is temporary. Identity-driven action is sustainable. That's why some people grind for years and still feel stuck, while others seem to unlock rapid transformation. The difference isn't willpower, it's identity. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your circumstances. You are who you decide to be. And that decision can be made right now. Not when life gets easier, not when you feel ready, right now. Because the identity you step into shapes the action you take. And when you shift that, everything else starts to move. When you choose a powerful identity, your behavior starts to match. You start taking bold steps. You start showing up differently. You start to trust yourself. You build momentum, and that momentum builds evidence, which reinforces the identity even more. It becomes a loop. But you must begin with the choice. You can't wait to feel it. You generate it. You lead it. You become it. When your identity is strong, your actions become effortless. Not because they're easy, but because they're in alignment. When who you are and what you do match up, you stop battling yourself. You stop negotiating with your goals. You stop self-sabotaging. You start living congruently. And that congruence breeds power. Every day you wake up, something or someone is waiting to tell you who you are. It could be your inbox, a text message, the news, social media, a coworker, or even your past mistakes whispering in your ear. Before you even have a chance to breathe, the world starts shaping your state, your energy, your belief in yourself. That's why this habit, priming your mind before the world does, is not optional if you want to live with power. It's essential. Most people roll out of bed and immediately plug in to chaos. They check their phone. They check the news. They check notifications. And in those first few moments of the day, they lose control of their focus. They hand over their mindset to algorithms, headlines, and other people's agendas. What they don't realize is that those first 10 to 15 minutes of your day are the most powerful, the most programmable, the most vulnerable time for your subconscious mind. If you don't take control of that window, you are handing over the steering wheel of your life. You are not a machine, you are a state-driven being. Your mental, emotional, and physical state determines the decisions you make, the actions you take, and the energy you bring. And your state is programmable. That's the good news. But if you don't program it intentionally, it will be programmed by default. And the default setting of the world is stress, comparison, urgency, and fear. That's what you absorb when you start your day reactive. That's what enters your system when you allow noise in before clarity. Priming your mind means consciously creating your state before the world imposes its demands. It means you generate your focus, your gratitude, your drive, your strength. You don't wait for motivation. You create it. And when you do, you're no longer reacting to the world. You're shaping how you experience it. You're responding with intention instead of reacting with anxiety. This is not about being positive for the sake of it. This is about neurological conditioning. When you wake up and direct your mind toward a specific focus, emotion, and vision, you're literally rewiring your brain. You're teaching your nervous system what matters. You're giving your internal GPS clear instructions for where you want to go that day. That level of clarity compounds. That kind of inner strength, practiced daily, becomes unshakable. Priming can take many forms, but it must include movement, focus, and emotion. You don't need an hour. You don't need fancy routines, but you do need intensity. You need to command your attention. That could mean breath work. It could mean speaking out loud who you are and what you stand for. It could mean visualizing your goals with power, not passivity. It could mean asking yourself, what am I proud of? What am I excited about? What am I committed to creating today? When you train yourself to answer those questions each morning, you're no longer waking up into a fog. You're waking up on fire. You're connecting to your purpose before you connect to your problems. You're building internal certainty before stepping into external chaos. And in a world that is constantly trying to pull your attention, that certainty is your greatest weapon. This habit is not just about mindset. It's about emotional control. When you prime your mind, you're anchoring yourself emotionally. You're choosing what energy to operate from. And when challenges come, and they will, you're not thrown off course. You've already anchored in who you are. You've already chosen your focus. So instead of being overwhelmed, you respond with clarity. Instead of shutting down, you lean in. The most successful, fulfilled, and powerful people on the planet don't leave their mental state to chance. They take control of it. They ritualize it because they understand that if you can own your morning, you can own your day. And if you own enough days in a row, you begin to own your life. There's a difference between living life on defense and living life on offense. Defense is waking up and reacting. Offense is waking up and creating momentum, creating clarity, creating identity. When you start your day by priming your mind, you're not just checking a box. You're building a mental and emotional shield against distraction, against doubt, against discouragement. You're choosing to rise before the world pulls you down. You're choosing to lead instead of follow. You're choosing focus over noise. You're choosing direction over distraction. Every single day, you are making a decision about who you are, whether you're aware of it or not. The most powerful people in the world don't leave that decision to chance. They claim it before the day begins. They don't stumble into identity. They design it, declare it, and live it. Deciding who you are daily is not a one-time event. It's not something you do once and expect it to stick. It's a ritual. It's a practice. It's a discipline of choosing your standard and aligning your behavior to meet it. Most people think identity is something fixed, something inherited or determined by upbringing, past experiences, or personality tests. But identity is fluid. It's alive. And it's shaped every day by what you tolerate, what you focus on, what you speak about, and most importantly, what you do. The moment you stop consciously choosing it, you start living according to your environment, your past, or other people's expectations. And that's when you lose power. That's when you start drifting. That's when the days blend together and you wake up weeks, months, or even years later wondering why you feel stuck. When you decide who you are daily, you're setting the standard before the world gets a say. You're saying, this is who I am. This is what I tolerate. This is how I show up. And once that decision is made, your actions follow suit. It becomes easier to say no to distractions because they don't align with your identity. It becomes natural to act with discipline because you're not forcing yourself. You're just being who you already chose to be. There's no resistance when action is in alignment with identity. This is why so many people fail when they try to build new habits or chase big goals. They're trying to change what they do without first changing who they believe they are. They say things like, I want to be healthy, but still identify as someone who hates working out or lacks discipline. That internal conflict creates inconsistency. The solution isn't to push harder. The solution is to shift identity and lock it in every morning. Say it, feel it, believe it, become it. This is not fake it till you make it. This is decide it until you become it. The brain doesn't care if your identity is rooted in past evidence or present intention. It simply aligns your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors to match what you consistently tell it is true. If you declare, I am focused, I am confident, I am unstoppable, and you do that with emotion and consistency, your brain will begin to wire new patterns that support that belief. Over time, it stops being a stretch. It becomes automatic. Deciding who you are daily doesn't mean you're always going to feel amazing or always act perfectly. It means you return to your center. You reconnect with your core. You reclaim your authority over yourself. Because if you don't decide who you are, someone else will. Life will. Your past will. Circumstances will. That's why this habit is so critical. It's not just motivational, it's foundational. Your self-demand controls your self-aggression. When your identity is weak, you'll fold under pressure. But when your identity is strong, you lead through it. This is where power lives. In the consistent, conscious decision to own who you are before anyone else defines it for you. You might not control what happens around you, but you always control who you choose to be in the face of it. And that choice, made every single morning, stacks up. It becomes your baseline. It becomes your truth. And over time, the gap between who you were and who you've decided to be disappears. You step into alignment, and alignment breeds confidence. The question you must ask yourself every morning isn't, what do I have to do today? It's, who do I choose to be today? The doing flows from the being. You choose to be someone who leads, someone who follows through, someone who shows up no matter what. That identity becomes the filter for your choices. It becomes the driver of your actions. And those actions, repeated with consistency, create the reality you once only imagined. The world is going to test you. People are going to try to put you in boxes. Life is going to throw curveballs. But when you've already chosen your identity before the day begins, none of that knocks you off course. You're grounded. You're centered. You're moving from a place of power instead of reaction. That's the difference between drifting through life and designing it. That's the shift from victim to creator. That's what happens when you decide who you are. Every single day. Most people wait their whole lives to feel ready. They wait for inspiration to strike, for motivation to show up, for the perfect moment when everything aligns. But that moment rarely comes. And if it does, it's gone in a flash. The truth is, emotion is not something you wait for. It's something you create. It's something you generate. And if you want to live at a high level, if you want to lead, perform, grow, and build, then you have to learn how to produce the emotional state that drives the action you need regardless of what's happening around you. Emotion is the fuel behind every decision. It determines whether you step forward or hold back, whether you speak up or stay silent, whether you go all in or hesitate. The problem is most people have conditioned themselves to live emotionally by default. Their mood is at the mercy of the weather, the news, the opinions of others, or how well their morning went. They haven't trained themselves to take command of their emotional state. So they ride waves of uncertainty, inconsistency, and self-doubt, waiting for the right feeling to show up before they do anything that matters. But you can't build a powerful life by outsourcing your emotional state to your environment. You have to become the source. You have to decide in advance what kind of energy you're going to bring. You have to wake up and say, today I bring intensity. Today I bring gratitude. Today I bring confidence, not because you woke up in the mood for it, but because it's who you choose to be. This is what separates average from extraordinary. It's the discipline of emotional leadership. Think about elite athletes. They don't get to the championship game and say, I hope I feel like performing today. They prime their body, they prime their focus, and most importantly, they prime their emotion. They don't wait to feel ready. They generate readiness. They move, they speak, they breathe in ways that create the emotional state that allows them to perform at the highest level. That level of emotional conditioning doesn't happen by accident. It's practiced, it's rehearsed, it's owned. And this doesn't apply only to athletes. It applies to leaders, parents, creators, entrepreneurs, anyone who wants to show up and create impact. You don't wait to feel courageous to have a difficult conversation. You generate courage by tapping into your purpose, your values, your mission. You don't wait to feel passionate before you start working on your dream. You generate passion by taking action, by moving, by engaging, by leaning in when others back down. The emotion comes from the doing, not the other way around. We all have emotional habits. Some people are habitually anxious, habitually overwhelmed, habitually reactive. Others are habitually calm, focused, and energized. That pattern didn't come from their DNA. It came from what they've repeated. What you practice emotionally becomes what you live emotionally. If you've rehearsed stress for years, then stress will become your default. If you've trained yourself to find strength in uncertainty, then resilience will be your default. You are not stuck with how you feel. You are only stuck if you believe emotion is something that just happens to you rather than something you can shape. One of the most powerful shifts a person can make is to move from emotional consumer to emotional creator. A consumer reacts to the energy in the room. A creator brings the energy. A consumer needs others to validate, encourage, or support them. To feel strong, a creator finds strength from within and shares it. This shift gives you control. It allows you to walk into any situation and influence it instead of being influenced by it. You don't become a slave to your mood. You become a master of your experience. Your physiology plays a major role in this. Emotion is not just in your mind, it's in your body. You can change how you feel by changing how you breathe, how you move, how you hold yourself. Stand tall, breathe deep, speak with power, and your body sends a signal to your brain that says, we're ready. You're not faking it, you're activating it. You're aligning your physical and emotional state to produce what you need in that moment. This is a habit that must be built daily. You train it the same way you train a muscle. It might feel awkward at first, it might feel forced, but that's how all powerful habits begin. You push through the resistance until the habit becomes natural, until the emotion you once had to create becomes the emotion you live by default. And when you reach that point, you stop chasing motivation. You become the source of it. You stop hoping for the right mindset. You build it on demand. Consistency is not sexy. It's not glamorous. It doesn't come with applause or immediate rewards. But it is the quiet force that shapes your belief in yourself, when you do what you said you would do, especially when no one's watching. You're building a foundation of trust with the most important person in your life, you. Every time you follow through, even in small ways, you're casting a vote for the version of yourself that is disciplined, reliable, focused, and powerful. And over time, those votes add up. They become evidence. And that evidence becomes belief. Belief isn't built by shouting affirmations or hyping yourself up in front of the mirror. Belief is built by evidence, by showing up, by doing the work, by proving to yourself that you mean what you say and that your word is law. Most people lack confidence not because they're incapable, but because they've broken promises to themselves too many times. They say they'll start the diet, write the book, make the call, but when they don't follow through, it chips away at their internal certainty. They start to doubt themselves, not because they're weak, but because they don't trust their own patterns. Consistency is how you reverse that. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be repeated. It has to be real. It has to be done, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because that's when the muscle is built. That's when belief is forged. When you show up in the rain, when you execute without motivation, when you take the step even when fear is present, that's when you separate yourself. That's when you build the kind of belief that can't be shaken by criticism, failure, or temporary setbacks. It's easy to act when you're excited. It's easy to commit when the mood is high and the vision is fresh. But real power is built in the mundane, in the reps, in the showing up again and again, long after the initial enthusiasm has faded. That's what creates identity-level belief. You don't become confident by thinking about what you're capable of. You become confident by proving it through action. And when you repeat that action over time, the proof stacks up. Eventually, you don't have to convince yourself anymore. You just know. The reason consistency is so transformative is because it moves you from theory to embodiment, from knowing something intellectually to living it experientially. You can read all the books, watch all the videos, attend all the seminars, but if you don't apply what you learn consistently, it never becomes part of who you are. Information without implementation is useless, but consistent implementation turns knowledge into wisdom. It turns hope into certainty. It turns dreams into results. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that they're just not consistent. But consistency isn't a personality trait. It's a choice. It's a skill. It's a behavior. And like any skill, it can be developed. The key is to start small enough that you can't fail. Don't aim to overhaul your entire life in a day. Choose one habit, one behavior, one standard, and show up for it every single day. It could be a 2-minute workout, a 5-minute journal entry, a single cold shower. The size doesn't matter. The integrity does. The message you're sending to yourself is, I do what I say I'll do. I follow through. I am reliable. Once you lock in one area, you'll notice something else starts to shift. Your posture changes. Your tone changes. You start walking into situations with a little more fire in your chest because you know who you are. You're no longer wondering if you'll show up. You've already proven that you do. That internal certainty spills over into every area of life. You become someone people can count on. Or importantly, you become someone you can count on. And when the inevitable challenges come, when things get messy or unpredictable, you don't collapse. You lean on your habits. You lean on your training. You lean on the track record you've built. Because belief built on hype is fragile, but belief built on consistency is unshakable. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be persistent. You need to be relentless in honoring the standards you set for yourself. Not to impress anyone, not to check a box, but because you've made a decision about who you are, and every act of consistency reinforces that decision.